This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Mohr with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty!
Carrie Ann, so good to see your smile in the house
So
today.
good to
And we
see
have a
you.
special guest here today I'm excited to talk to.
He's wearing my favorite color.
Mr. Adam Darby with State Farm Insurance. Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of those things that nobody likes, but everybody needs, you know? That's probably how you feel, isn't it?
Yeah, my wife talks about me. Yeah, that's right. That's
But it's one of those things that anyway. So I want to get in today about the benefit. By the way, we have State Farm Insurance in our home. I want to get into the benefit of let's talk about insurance, okay? Let's make it exciting.
Well, and I think we were talking earlier too, right? So insurance weirdly is the thing that is needed on every mortgage, but is the most delayed, and it delays every process of each mortgage. And so we want to encourage people to jump in, get their insurance squared away so you can figure out your monthly mortgage payment and feel confident about it, because a lot of lenders are just winging it, right? We're assuming the monthly is going to be $1.25, $1.50, something like that, right? Something like that. That's not a way to run the numbers. So really having that done early on is key. So there's some confidence related to, the mortgage payment itself and making sure that you're protected. I think that's key.
So, Adam, before we get into it, let's hear a little bit about you.
Who are you?
Who am I?
Mystery man?
Well, I've been in the insurance industry for 15 years now.
Okay.
Are you from here?
No, I'm from West Tennessee originally, Jackson, Tennessee.
Okay.
Me and my wife. Yeah, so right outside Memphis. We moved over here in 2010.
Could start singing a Johnny Cash song there.
There you go. That's the right Jackson too. I came out of college. I had a stint in baseball with that world, and then went into orthopedic sales, and then came into the insurance world. I worked my way up. I worked for a State Farm agent in Spring Hill, Tennessee for 2.5 years. And then from that time, just learned the ropes, what the industry looks
important.
like. Exactly. Did all the sales in the office and some service to make sure I know how to take care of the customers. And then we opened up our own agency. So
let's go back a little bit. Baseball. What'd you do in baseball? Were you a pitcher or what were you doing?
Oh no, I actually played. I like the jabs. No, pitchers are baseball players too. Some of them. No, I played center field. So so I played at MTSU and then Harding University. It's over in the middle of Arkansas. Most people don't know where that is, but and then I played 2 seasons down in Pensacola for the Pensacola Pelicans. So
Nice.
it was fun. Yeah, it was a nice ride, but when it's time to get out, it's time to get out. So I had to face the real world. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, good for you. So I'm assuming you had other choices besides State Farm. What was it about? Let's talk about State Farm for a minute. Why State Farm? How long have they been around? Seems like forever.
Seems like forever. Yeah, I think it's 1920-ish, somewhere right in there.
Wow, that's longer than I've been around.
Yeah, it's one of the only mutual companies left in the insurance industry. So it's a wonderful company. It's easy, right? I mean, it's the number one. Well, it's easy to choose State Farm.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Like it's easy to choose Carrie Ann.
Yeah, there you
mortgage.
go. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
for those that don't know the difference, I mean, everybody knows the difference between Carrie Ann and any other lender, but those who don't know the difference with insurance, let's go delve in a little bit more about why is it easy?
Yeah. So when I was we called it an aspirant. So when I was working for State Farm for 2 years, I was preparing to open up my own agency in one fashion or not. And I looked at other companies, looked at every other company, and I want to have the right track, because this is once you open a small business, as y'all know, you're in it for 30, 40, 50 years. And I wanted to plant my roots and know exactly what I was going to be doing. So I looked around, and there's some great options out there. There's some great companies out there. But when it comes to treating your customers right, integrity, paying out on claims is a huge
I'm sorry,
deal.
we're doing what?
I know, right?
No, I'm just kidding.
Having the infrastructure to build an agency and having the people behind us that we need to do the right thing, State Farm's the best. And it was an easy decision once I started looking at the other companies, and especially being an agent for State Farm, they treat us extremely fairly. We're an agent-centric company, and they understand that. So we're a 1099 contractor for State Farm, and we've got a great partnership with them. The corporate side is wonderful to work with. So it's been a blessing to us.
Well, can we talk about some of the changes that have taken place in the industry? And guys, for those realtors who don't think this is important, let me just underline this. Nothing's important until it's important. But this is, you can either be a hero and make sure that your client has got a great company, or not so, and not take any any opportunity to show your wisdom and experience. So make sure that you are referring your clients to a reputable insurance company, a reputable insurance brand, and an excellent rep for that company, because you're the front door to the experience, right?
Sure, absolutely.
With the company. So let's talk about the differences, the changes that have taken place. I've heard that in some states that State Farm doesn't exist anymore. You left California, for instance. So I left California, so there's no fault there.
Yeah, so we're back now. We're over there again. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've opened it back up. I think State Farm and the insurance commissioner over there, they came to an agreement.
Okay.
So it's with the California thing. So I was wondering if we're going to go into this. It's rate versus risk, right?
Right.
I mean, in reality, you've got a tough area over there, especially to insure homes, with the fire risks, with the ocean being right there. I mean, there's just a lot of risk right there when it comes to insuring homes in California. So you have to
fault lines,
right? You got it. Yeah, earthquakes. There's a lot. I don't personally go over there. That's not somewhere that we service, so I don't know all the risk. Yeah. But it's just tough. It's tough to match rate to risk over there.
Sure.
And especially when you have so many political forces that are trying to keep that rate down for the customers, which, I understand that. They want to keep it low.
Right.
But also the companies have to be profitable.
Yeah,
so
imagine that.
Yeah, it's getting that right. But they're back open over there. They had to take a pretty nice little increase, I think, to get back into California. But they are insuring houses over there again. So that's what's going on in California.
We were talking earlier too. So the Nashville area, we've had a lot of storms, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so I always giggle if you follow me on social. You see me saying, "Hey, there's another roofer knocking at my door, and you are the lucky winner tonight," type of thing. And so we were talking about roofs, right? And the amount of roof damage recently, which is changing claims and other, insurance related, stuff. So why don't you talk into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it is. So especially in Tennessee, because Tennessee is where I'm at. It's where we sell and service policies.
Sure.
We have had to take a little bit of rate increases in the state of Tennessee because of all of natural disasters that we're having. So already this year, it's June 10th? We've had 6 cat
and what's CAT
events.
mean?
So catastrophe. So that means within a 10-mile radius or so, there's 500 plus claims.
Wow.
500 plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, that speaks to also the volume of State Farm, right? How many homes we insure.
Oh, I see.
So, but yeah, so I mean, to get that right, to get that number, it's back to the rate and risk. And this is, I mean, we're trying to make this exciting. This is not exciting. I'm sorry. But the rate and risk in Tennessee, we've got to get the rate right so that we can be profitable as a company and still service our customers and make sure that they've got low enough rates so that they stay with us. So it's a double-edged sword. You've got actuaries that know all of they're the brainiacs. They know how to do all that stuff.
Right.
So we're the guys we're just the front line, right? So it's my job to take care of my customers and make sure that they understand the policy and be an ambassador for them during claim time and being an ambassador for the company as well.
Sure.
Right? So it's all around. It takes a team effort, but yeah, the roof thing going on right now, especially what we were mentioning this morning with your realtors and the people that are probably listening to this podcast, you want to make sure you get the insurance quote early and quick. I mean, basically right when you get an offer in, because what do you got? Usually 30 days from there, so ish, depending on the deal. Yeah, less.
Or
With
8
care,
days.
Yeah.
If you're doing
If you're working with me. Yeah.
So we want to make sure that roof is going to be insurable for our customers. And if they're not, we need to get them in someone else's hands, right? Or make sure that the sellers know they need to replace that roof or whatever's going on during that instant.
Well, what we were talking about earlier was where people just assume insurance is no big deal. I'll get that later.
Right.
I'll deal with that tomorrow, right? And that's where it comes into the situation where it's such a small situation, but it's going to cause the biggest delay of all things, right? And then we find out that you can't insure this property, or the insurance that I'm quoting or just guesstimating to be is going to be so much more because Joe or Sue or whomever had a claim in their past, right? And again, you and I don't know people's past, and we just assume that everything is clean. And if you use your insurance, that's the thing that's frustrating, I think, with a lot of people. If you use your insurance for the right reasons, sometimes it does hurt you later. Not so much hurt, but it does maybe because you had a claim. How do you word that properly without it making it negative?
We say rate adjustments.
Okay.
So
that sounds
People,
better.
yeah.
Price improvement, rate adjustment.
Price improvement, yeah, discount, double check, but yeah, I mean, if you use your insurance, and it depends on every company, right? So with State Farm, we have claim-free discounts. So if you're 3 years into the policy, 6 years into the policy, 9 years into the policy, it's not surchargeable. And that's another big difference between a large company like State Farm. We have loyalty discounts the longer you're with us. So your rate will actually, knock on wood, it could
This
go
isn't
down.
wood, love you. This is not wood.
It could.
We gotta go further
it
down.
could go down, right? So that's the theory on the matter. But yeah, so
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you're saying as soon as that contract's written, they need to be finding insurance then right away.
They should. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. I know you are as well. And finding a good agent that can appreciate the fact that they're on it, right? They're educating them, not just for getting them the best rate, but understanding the proper coverage, and understanding their true home and all the things that they want associated with that. I think that's key.
You guys go and lay eyes on it, on the roof yourselves, or how's that
So
work?
we use satellite now.
Oh, really?
Really?
You can hone in with satellite?
Not me directly. I just hit submit, and then the actuaries take care of the underwriters, take care of the rest of that. So they'll use satellite, and they'll come down and take a look at the slope and look at the if there's any hail damage or anything going on. They can gauge the.
They can see hail damage from up there?
They can gauge the age of the roof.
Should I've had my roof replaced?
Well, I'm just wondering what else they're looking at.
I know, right? So that's how they get it now. But we used to back in the day. My dad was a 43-year State Farm agent.
Oh, really?
My summer job was driving around and taking pictures of the houses,
no
front,
way.
back, and meter box. Yep. So
That's kind of cool. You kind of stayed with the whole. State Farm, 43. Nice.
That's pretty amazing.
Wow,
There's a
that's
lot
impressive.
So you really need to
Generational.
add that to your resume as far as how long you've been
Yeah.
with the company.
Yeah,
Kind of
let's
birthed
tack that
in.
on.
You were like birthed into State Farm.
Aged
there.
me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Birthed into it. Yes, I was.
Yeah, totally. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The other part too is, we talked a little bit about deductibles versus, the amount one pays, and, people walk into their insurance and want the lowest deductible possible because that's kind of what we're used to with health insurance and things like that. Just kind of educating them, and agent to lender to insurance agent. We're trying to communicate that you don't need the lowest deductible always,
Sure.
right? Because that's going to increase your monthly, which is going to increase your monthly payment, which is going to change all things. If you are going to actually use your insurance, right, and you're only going to use it for that moment in time,
Sure.
right? That's really not to say a catastrophe, but something really serious.
It
right?
is, yeah, absolutely.
Something serious. You're most likely going to invest a decent amount of money for that, right?
Sure. Yeah. So the process in my office, when it comes to referrals, I like to talk to the customer first, right? And I get a feel for them. Are you in a rush right now, or do you have time now to talk this over? If they're in a rush, We'll get them a quote. All we need is name, address, date of birth, and we can just get it in their inbox. And I'll say, hey, give me a call when you get a chance, and I'll go line by line with you. Mm-hmm. So when we go line by line, that's when I say State Farm's easy. We're the most comprehensive policy out there by far. So we're replacement cost, open peril policy. Those are fancy words for we cover anything that's not mentioned that we don't cover, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's a great policy. And then when we get to the deductible, you're right. I mean, that's the biggest thing that will adjust the price on it. Mm-hmm. So I like to do, we have percentage. I like to do a 1% deductible for most of my customers. That's probably 90% of our book of business.
1% of what?
1% of the dwelling amount.
Okay.
And I hope we're not losing people here, but
so that's why I want to break it down. So a $500,000 home, 1%. Is that a $5,000?
You got it. Yeah. Okay. So, and we like it that way because we want insurance to be used on your home for large catastrophes. Right.
Right.
Not petty stuff.
Yeah. Like if you drop your TV and it breaks, you don't want to use your insurance for that. No. Like it's going to cost you more down the road for that. So we try to educate on when we get to the deductible. Hey, look, if you ever need to file a claim, please call me first. Like, let me guide you through this. We want to make sure if it's a roof claim, we've got wonderful roofers we can send out there and recommend, or if you've got anybody, let's take a look at it, get an estimate first. If you got water damage, whatever it is, call me first and we can get you help out there. And then we can decide, okay, we think this is going to be more than your deductible and substantially more so that we can file the claim. Because even at, if it's, and it depends on the person, right? Everything's different. But if it's only going to pay out $500, like you probably don't want to use that. Right. Like it's going to cost you more down the line. So usually I say if it's over $2,000 or $3,000, that's when we want to start looking deeper into filing a claim.
Yeah, and I had to learn my lesson a long time ago, too, being new to the whole insurance world. We had a water situation, and I was like, yes, call the insurance. Is like the middle of the night. Yeah. Corey Jacobs, appreciate you so much. But he was like, yes, thank you so much for the call. I don't think this is what we should be doing at this moment, right? And he navigated the whole process for me, and I realized that it was better for me to just fix the issue versus me pulling the claim, on what needed to be done for future concerns, for what the cost would be associated. So learning that early is key, and being an agent and making sure that you're educating your clientele on that as well, I think is important across the board.
That helps us a lot too on my end, because the worst phone call I have to make is when I have to call Monte and say, hey, that claim that you filed last week, it is surchargeable against you, so your rates are most likely going to go up, and we're not going to pay you out anything because it was lower than your deductible. Like, that's a terrible phone call. I hate that. So I try to avoid that at all costs. Sure. And then just educating most folks up front and letting them know, hey, this is how we handle claims. It takes care of most of it. So it's been a good practice for us.
And that's one of the reasons I think it's really important for the agent world to understand this process, so they can be that help in that arena, that advocate in that arena, to help guide them properly. Because believe it or not, it's not uncommon when there's a problem with the house that we just sold them that they call us first, even though we're probably not the right resource. But we can be a help, though, if it's something like this, for sure, to give them right guidance. Well, let's think about that for a minute before you call your insurance company. What's your deductible? Is it really worth getting that mark on your credit history or your
and why I think it's so important to have a true insurance agent on your side is for that conversation, right?
Absolutely.
Just to be able to, for you as an agent, to have a resource as a complement to you in that topic, right? All things insurance, you're going to your insurance agent who knows all things insurance. It's just a very easy conversation versus calling an 800 number and you're having to go through all the ringamaroo. It's just really easier to go to someone like Adam to make that a win.
Totally.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I love it. Now that my eyesight is on properly, I'm actually seeing your shirt, and it is all American flags. So I'm proud to be an American. It is not pink. I do love all things pink. I initially thought it was pink.
Yeah. I initially
thought it was pink, but I'm like, this is red, white, and blue over here.
Yeah, and I didn't even see the flags until you just said that.
Yeah, so I had to get my eyesight on site. But I'm Lee Greenwood tells me I'm proud to be American, and I'm totally proud to be American with all
We're
of you
close
here
to the
today.
fourth. I was like, I got to pull this out today.
I think it's good, yes.
No, it's
but
really
initially, I thought you were rocking my favorite color. But I'm also proud to wear the American flag as well. So that's so
Amen.
good. Yeah.
Amen.
Well, insurance is important. Finding your go-to insurance agent is important. State Farm is somebody who's been in the business for a long time. Clearly, he was burst into the business 43 years with his dad. Him now, how long in the business?
15 years.
15 years. Yes, that's amazing.
I
And
would
know-
add to that on your resume, man, just because you were out there when you were a kid.
Yeah, I think that's a huge,
Adam,
huge
can
win.
you, can you help us understand the benefit of, there's a lot of insurance brokers out there. How do you compare yourself with an insurance broker who's shopping, typically shopping for rate, I guess, is what they're shopping for. Kind of like Carrie Ann's a one-stop shop. You're a one-stop shop. You're not brokering out there to the world.
Yeah.
I got to believe there's some advantage to that from the client standpoint.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's what we were just speaking about, the loyalty discounts. So the longer you're with State Farm, they rack up more and more discounts.
Okay.
So it's a 3-year, 6-year, 9-year, and then it increases from there. It's up to like a 30% discount, I believe,
Wow.
off all of your all of your bills. So that loyalty discount is a huge factor. That's why you see people with State Farm for
A long time.
30, 40, 50 years, and they don't change because the rates are unbeatable.
Yeah.
Also, brokerage, they've got their benefits, right? Absolutely. I mean, I think there's definitely a space for that. What I love about State Farm is that it's one homeowners policy, and it's the most comprehensive. It's called a HO5W, which is basically a homeowners policy on steroids. Like we don't have a whole lot of endorsements that we can add because we don't need them because they're already built into the contract. So
Sweet.
yeah, it's
So you're not removing stuff to
costs.
get stuff cheaper.
No, not at all. I mean, there's nothing weird. Like if you pay your monthly bill, there's no discount there because there's no surcharge for, or other way around. There's no surcharge for paying monthly, So, I mean, there's no late fees. There's nothing weird like that with this insurance company. So there's not a whole lot that I have to overcome with those types of things.
So let me put you on the spot here.
Sure.
Live and in person. I have no idea. This is not a loaded question, but recently I went through an experience with some clients in Florida, and I know Florida is a different animal and different catastrophes and so forth than what Tennessee realizes, but it's still insurance companies being insurance companies. I had a client that got hit by a hurricane over 2 years ago, and it took them over 2 years to get the claim resolved. Then they had to get an attorney to do that. And here they're 78 years old, and it just broke my heart to see these people that, I don't know what the percentage of 2 years is in a 70-year-old's life, what they have left on the planet, but it's probably more than your percentage, okay, or Carrie Ann's or Jim's here.
Yeah.
And it just broke my heart that they'd never made a claim in their life, ever. And they had to get an attorney to get the insurance company to do the right thing. Tell me that State Farm's reputation is better than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know the situation in that, in the particulars of it or what happened in that situation, but this is why there's 19,000 State Farm agents across the country. Okay. So, you've got top of the barrel, bottom of the barrel. It's good to have a great office and a great agent that is an ambassador for their customers. So I can kind of leave it at that. All I do most days is if I'm not doing things like this, I am fighting to make sure that my customers are taken care of. So whether it's working with our claims unit, which, everything has cycles, everything's good and bad at times, but they've been wonderful throughout the years. It's making sure that claims are going the right way. So we have one person in my office that all they do is follow up on claims with our customers, making sure that they're being in contact with the adjusters, and they're being taken care of, right? So we want to make sure that we hold their hand if they want that throughout the process for it. So I don't know if that agent particularly did that. I don't know. You just never know. So
No, they didn't.
There's a million different things that could have gone sideways.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we have State Farm, in our house in Florida. There was one other topic I wanted to cover, and I know what it was. before we get done here, go ahead, Carrie Ann. I want to make sure I get to read something that was shared about this guy recently. Okay?
Oh, I love a good testimonial.
Yeah.
You've got one?
I do, but you go ahead.
That's good. Well, earlier today we were talking about, how to maximize the vendor and how to complement the vendor with your everyday business. And so I think that's important as well, because the audience is real estate agents. And so, working with a lender, I think that's key. Working with a strong insurance agent, I think that's key. And all vendors, above the yellow line is important. So, finding your go-to person that you can just run scenarios by or questions by, or having, somebody initially have that true conversation with, I think is really, really important, right? And it just kind of, I think, it makes you stand out. It tells the clientele that you really are serious about your business, because you're not just a real estate agent. You're a real estate agent and
resource
and with so much more, right? And I think that's really, really important. So, thinking about who that's going to be, you want to think about, Adam and State Farm. So you've got something to say?
Yeah. So just recently, I shared this with you already, Adam, but I wanted to share this here as well, because I think it says what you probably want people to say, I would think, if I were you. One of our agents, Becky, says, "Hey, everyone, I wanted to give a shout out to our in-house preferred insurance agent, Adam, with State Farm. I got a personal quote for my home and auto, and it was significantly less than I was paying with amazing client outreach. The process was very smooth. Even though Adam was going out of town on vacation, he was extremely responsive and connected with me and with his team, who gave me a quote immediately and took the time to go over options and adjust things, which took over an hour. He was very patient and went through all my questions. I would definitely consider using him to refer my clients to." That kind of wraps it up right there, man. I mean, thank you for that, because, just like Becky feels confident to refer you to her family and friends, we feel even more confident when we hear these kind of things. There's a beautiful thing when you're working with a team, more of a team-like environment, because when things are great, things get around quickly. There's two edges to that sword, though. When things are not so great, they get around quickly,
Sure.
And so I know you have the conviction of guarding your reputation, and I wanted to compliment you on that publicly, that's a beautiful thing when we can trust the vendors that we're using, just like Carrie Ann. I don't recommend anybody else but Carrie Ann, because she's the best, and I want to have the same kind of conviction with you as well, and that kind of thing builds on that conviction. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Even though she's new and all that, you took the time when you had other things, you had other reasons why you didn't. Maybe didn't feel like you needed to, but anyhow,
and
thank you for that.
I think that's important. Again, our audience is real estate agents, so making sure that they can rely on us, as true resources, in the vendor community that can provide that confidence. I think that's key. So, how do we reach you, Adam?
Well, we've got an office line, then we've got my cell phone number.
Okay.
So either one, I'm always available. You can call or text me. I mean, I'm taking phone calls most and every weekend.
Okay. So they can go to your website. It's
Right.
agentdarby.com.
You got it.
agentdarby.com. And then the best number to reach you?
Best number is my cell phone, so 731-695-2228. You can
That's
call
still
or
a
text
Jackson
that.
number.
Yes, it is.
So again, 731.
695-2228.
Yeah, or a local office number here is going to be 869-7600. 869-7600. That's going to be Adam Darby with State Farm. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for
Adam.
sharing the resources and being a true compliment to the real estate agent community.
Thank you so
Grateful
much
for
for
you.
having
And
me.
wearing your American flag shirt.
Absolutely.
It is not pink. It is. Proud to be American. Thank you all for being here with us. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.